don't know what's in
with
here.
Podcast. Dr. Chris Hardy and William Walker will take a deep dive into topics covering wellness and prevention, performance, recovery, and injury management. Our mission is to provide the latest science-based information to help you get the most out of your grappling journey, both on and off the mats, and help you overcome any challenges you may be grappling with. Dr. Hardy is a licensed physician and BJJ practitioner, but the contents of the podcast are meant for educational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. Please seek out personalized care from your own medical provider prior to implementing any medical treatment or intervention.
All right. Just opened up a can. Excellent. How's it going, man?
Good. I sprayed on the mic.
Don't make me put up a shield.
How's it going?
Good, man.
Good.
Good. Very good. How about you, Olivia?
Oh, doing good.
She's like, oh, no, they're talking to me.
We caught her.
I know.
Caught her slipping.
Yeah.
Phone.
She was.
Okay. I'll have to look up the Puritans.
Oh, here she goes.
So we got a nice little Q&A episode today.
Oh, that's cool.
We got a bunch of questions.
So I'm coming in with no
cold.
I like it. No prior knowledge.
It's pretty much, for the most part, all jiu-jitsu related stuff.
Oh, I like it.
So if you're here for just health and you don't do jiu-jitsu, start doing jiu-jitsu and listen to this podcast.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, well, before we get into the questions, though, what are you working on in as far as your
my
training?
Game? Yeah. Gosh. It's a good question. Mm-hmm. I'm still trying to get better at the ankle lock, the butterfly ashi variant.
The one that I stole from you and I'm doing all the time now.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Haven't you seen me doing it?
I have seen you in the position. I didn't know you were actively like working on like putting that in the holster.
That feeds into what I'm working on too, because I'm working on a guard that goes right into that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like that modified X position.
Oh, from Victor Hugo?
And then after you get him down on the ground and you already have that modified hook in, and then you just, very similar to what you do, use kind of belly down and kind of.
I find going for that butterfly ashi position, if I zero in on it too much, it doesn't work out well. It seems like I need to just play guard, try to get him to a hip, and then go for it rather than grabbing the ankle like a big deep overhook and then going into the foot positioning too soon.
I agree.
It seems like I get backstepped on and passed pretty easily when I'm doing that. So
yeah, I've been working out that whole guard. It's pretty versatile though, so I'm digging it.
And even more than that though is the foot sweep stuff.
Yeah,
is trying to put a lot of reps and a lot of time.
I love the foot sweeps.
I cannot stop.
He watches judo videos.
Let me tell you,
night.
That stuff is super useful. Matter of fact, I like we've been doing that. The class you taught on Saturday is super cool too with that timing. People are like looking at these drills and like, oh, this is dumb. And it isn't.
It's one of those things where it is, like I said in the beginning, it's like we're going to learn how to walk today.
Yeah.
But as soon as people start doing it, they're like, oh, I can't.
What was cool though is about halfway through, then I started getting the timing. I was like, oh yeah.
As soon as you hit a couple,
yes,
even one, but you hit a couple.
Yep.
Out of let's say 10, you do 2 or 3 with halfway right timing. You're like, wait a minute, this works.
I know. It's pretty cool,
and it feels very Steven Seagal kind of because it's most foot sweeps are timing based for the most part. And it's incredible when the timing is there.
I just like the chaining too. If you're like, they're rooting in the ground, you pop into the. I mean, it's super cool.
Yeah, and then we've had Clinton.
Clinton, yeah.
Clinton. He started coming in. He black belt in judo, black belt jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and
he's been showing some stuff, which is kind of funny timing wise because we started in the day class. I was starting to teach foot sweeps maybe a month ago, and then he started coming in a couple weeks ago, and it was like just odd timing.
I love it, man. It's such I think in a lot of academies, it's underappreciated.
Yeah, for sure. And foot sweeps I like because they're low risk. They're easier on the body because you're not just getting launched.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we're thinking about doing a crowdfunding for some crash pads for the gym.
Oh, I'm in.
So we can throw some throw some people.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Cool.
Then, you can actually really work some of the finishing.
Especially my old bones, man. I need something to crash into, man. Right. It's a little rough in the next day, getting thrown a lot.
Yeah. And so I'm, like Olivia said, I'm completely obsessed right now with judo.
I think it's awesome.
I'm probably watching
multiple a night.
An hour to 3 hours of judo every night.
I think, though, this is the point, especially both of us in our journey, like, I don't know if we called senior brown belts or priests, whatever we are.
Something like that, yeah.
Just to really kind of start, getting our fundamentals dialed in, and then kind of looking for expanding some knowledge and stuff. I think it's super cool.
Yeah, and it's Brian came in, Black Belt Brian, and he came into one of the Friday classes that I've been doing, and he literally, we did 45 minutes of foot sweeps, just timing, fit drills, walking drills, sinking drills, and he even said himself, he was like, he's a black belt, a really good one.
Yeah, he is.
But his stand-up has been a little neglected. So he was like, even though it might not be like, okay, we're coming and getting a hard sweat in, it can be pretty necessary to almost get down to that nitty-gritty.
I like it, man. So I like that we're doing that. And the other stuff we've been doing, some judo stuff. Super cool.
Loving it. I'm going full-blown Danaher, and I'm trying to like memorize all the Japanese names.
He is.
I noticed that you were referencing them in class. I'm like, nerd.
Oh, he loves sharing them.
Olivia thinks it's very pretentious.
It is.
It's super pretentious, man. Of course it is.
I'm so glad he agrees with me.
What does pretentious mean? Because maybe I don't understand what that means.
So, someone that is saying something in a quasi-sophisticated way to impress people, for the sole purpose of just impressing people.
Shouldn't that be your title then?
Mine?
Yeah.
I typically say, I hope not. Usually the stuff I say is, I really try to actually go the opposite as much as possible and be like, instead of, because, gosh, man, we all, in all fields, I mean, you could get a plumber on here, an electrician, mechanic, and they could start using jargon and be like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I could do the same thing with medicine, and all this, then you'd look like a tool. Right? So it's like, here's the word, but this is what this means, and this is why we say this thing. We say a lot of this stuff so that the other professionals know exactly what we're talking about. There's a, precision to the word. But people that are pretentious will go around and like, hey, they learned something. They just want to, hey, I've been waiting to throw that word out.
Uchigari.
Uchigari.
Sensei. What's that one that you just said the other day?
Seonagi?
No. The one that...
Senpai.
No. It was the one with where if they stick their feet into the ground and you put your foot on their ankle.
Oh, Sasai.
Sasai. Oh, yeah. You love that one.
So I will, just to defend myself, I will typically, I do have a cheat code, but I will say, like, if it's Kouchi or Ouchi, I will say what that means. That's just the Japanese way to say it. But I'll say, like, what inside foot sweep, right?
Totally.
Or Ouchi, big inner reap, right? Now my cheat code is the midday. Mai comes to class. So if I don't remember, I say, Mai, what does Kataguruma mean? It's like hip wheel,
Oh.
And so she can actually kind of translate.
No, that's not being pretentious. What you're doing is you're trying to repeat things so you actually learn them. Yeah. As opposed to showing up and just,
Well, in judo, you have to get belt up. I don't know if it's black. I know at black belt you have to, but I don't know at what point you have. If you do for brown, I don't know. But you have to have like the main 40 throws memorized, the actual move, but also the names. And there's some that are so similar, like the Sasai, which were you there last time Clint showed? And it's you just stick your foot out so you can't step as you turn. I think it's a Hizaguruma, which instead of sticking your foot out at the, or maybe it was Kosoto. See, I'm still getting them. So I still get them mixed up. It's either Kusorogai or Hizaguruma. But the Sasai, you just stick your foot out in front of their foot so they can't take a step, and then they flip over.
But the reason for saying this and being precise with language is because if you just said inside foot sweep, it's like, okay, which one?
Right.
But if you know the terminology, you can know, oh, yeah, it's that.
Yeah, and then there's stuff
I
like
get it.
Dayashi, which indicates forward. It's a forward throw or a backward throw or a side throw. Right. And then so like Hizaguruma, instead of putting your foot like a Sasai on their foot, you put it at the knee.
Yeah.
So that's the only difference.
It just sounds pretentious to me.
Well, especially if you string a bunch together in a sentence.
Well, and I think it's because in jiu-jitsu, we have like terms and stuff, but none of them like seem like super fancy. You're like, oh, Kimura.
Bochinha.
Armbar, or, you know what I'm saying? Like
Jujukatami.
Mm-hmm.
A dirty triangle.
Dirty triangle. There's some Japanese guy going like, you retard.
Yeah, for sure. No, but all that stuff, I mean, it depends on how the delivery is very important, whether it's something's pretentious or not.
You need to be very polished like me. The Danaher, he says he uses it for like a homage reason, right? Like,
well, that, and he's very precise in his language.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
as am I.
Well, he was a philosophy guy, and coming from that. Language, those words have meanings, and being exact and precise is important. So when you're communicating to other people in that field, they know exactly what you're talking about if we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
Is it homage or is it homage?
Oh my God. Now that's pretentious. I think there was a Seinfeld where that lady that Jerry was dating, instead of paper mache, she said papier mache.
Oh,
and George said, George goes, oh, she's super pretentious. So it depends on what.
I want to say homage.
Okay. Well, I don't know, but
I could see.
I've heard it both ways.
Homage. And if you say it like that, you're super pretentious.
Put your pinky up when you drink your agua.
So anyway.
You want to ask me what I want to work on?
What are you working on?
I'm not working on it yet, but.
She asked you. Oh my God.
But I was
being rich.
What?
Being rich.
No.
I'm working on being rich.
Yeah, bro.
I did see that Cindy Hales competed at American Nationals this weekend, and she did her Bora Bora.
Shout out, gold medal.
Yeah, and I need to learn that because I feel like it might be good for me.
It's a good position. It's a little.
She took the back from it.
Yeah.
So
just taking my
super
back
easy.
from it.
Briefly explain to some people that may not know. I know it's hard to do on audio.
But I am
what
not,
it is, I don't even know how to
I'm not
explain
good
it.
enough to explain it.
Okay.
It feels like a leg entanglement almost.
Mm-hmm.
Because she looked like she was doing it from kind of a headquarters-esque position.
Well, in the end, then she falls back into it.
She falls back.
So she's using a lot of counter pressure where she's putting, let's say, I'm going to butcher it. And I do apologize, Cindy. I don't think she listens to this, but we'll tag her. So she does. She's using counter pressure. So she's like wedging a shin at the back of your knee and then pulling on like an ankle. So now she's got that wedged. And it's almost like she'll do a leg weave with it. So both legs are essentially trapped, and she can push her shins against the back of your legs while gripping the feet in. So you're essentially stuck. It's a creative position that is not hard to get into, and she gets into it every time we roll.
But the counter pressure, so it's not the same, but the counter pressure of like a spider guard, it's still, you're putting a foot
with a pull and
a push, but so you're creating that same kind of counter pressure.
Yeah, and you're just doing it on their legs.
On the legs, okay.
With your legs and a grip, and it essentially makes it a back take really easy, and sweeps are really easy.
Very cool.
And you're able to prevent being put into pressured situations where someone who's tough and strong or uses a lot of pressure, you can avoid that basically in a way.
And I do believe because
she had told me when she was, I hope I'm not misquoting her, but that, there's a lot of strong dudes that come in and want to kind of go at you. And she created this position to kind of prevent, to be able to move around someone without having to be put in those positions.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
We'll have to, next time we're in, I'd like you to kind of, if we can kind of show us that position. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think she is looking at maybe doing an instructional with one of the big big companies. So
That'd be cool.
We'll see how that goes.
I always like things like that to kind of equalize strength and athleticism. Yep, super cool.
Yeah, it's really cool, actually. And it's crazy because when you're in the position, you're like, how does she keep getting it? And how do I get out of this? Because it is like, even you, Bill, like, weren't you like, how do I get out of this position?
Yeah, I was.
That's very cool.
Every time I haven't figured out.
Yeah, and she has all these like great transitions, and you're like,
yeah, that's good.
How is this happening right now? Because they keep winding up on top, and I don't know how.
Very cool. Yeah, we'll have to explore that.
So.
Okay, you want to go into questions?
Sure.
Yeah.
Our first question is, I'm doing it off of memory here.
Okay.
Because Olivia has the others, but it's not jiu-jitsu related. It's
like public service announcement.
Public service announcement. So summer is trying to be here. Mm-hmm. We've had some 90-degree days here in the Northwest, which is amazing. But there has been a lot of people, when we get hot weather, we run to our lakes and all that, and our rivers, and people spend time in those, right? Mm-hmm. And people have been, there's been a lot of cases recently of people like locking up in the water, almost like their muscles are seizing on them. Mm-hmm. What the heck is that?
So this is a problem in this area too, especially because we have, it's a moderate climate, but especially this year, we've had a very kind of chilly spring and early summer, and the water temperatures really haven't warmed up a whole lot. And so it's a stark contrast, and people that aren't used to that, they're like, oh, we're going to go jump like it's a swimming pool.
Yeah.
You jump into water in the 50s even. If you're not acclimated to that, like Carrie and I do these cold plunges every morning. But what can happen is the general thing when you get submerged in water, or let's say you're out in a cold environment for a long time, the blood from the extremities, the blood vessels kind of clamp down so it can shunt blood to your midsection, right? It's a survival mechanism because they're like, the extremities are, if you look at a survival mechanism, the extremities are expendable, kind of. That's why people get frostbite on their fingers and toes because the blood vessels clamp down. And in your legs and arms, that's pretty darn important because if you're trying to do muscular activity like swimming, and you're not accustomed to that, your nervous system clamps down on those blood vessels, and then all of a sudden you're at a deficit in how much blood is delivered to the muscles. And you know what happens? Then you get what's called an ATP crisis. You know what we talked about with, the extreme of that is when someone dies. Mm-hmm. You get rigor mortis, they're stiff. So those are those systems in the muscles getting under an energy crisis due to decreased blood flow. And it can be fatal because you can drown, basically. So you jump in cold water, you get that take your breath away type of thing, get a big adrenaline dump with that right away. And that causes that what's called vasoconstriction, or constricting the blood vessels, especially in the extremities. And then you start...
people drown.
Absolutely. They can't swim anymore. They
That's
lock
what we've
up
seen up here.
Yeah, unfortunately, it happens all the time. So you really need to get yourself accustomed to some of that.
Because a lot of our river water is coming from the mountains. So
absolutely.
As it heats up,
and you can
it's
still
just ice water.
And if you look at the horizon, you look up in our mountains, there's still snow caps on that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really cold. So
but this can be, you're maybe less susceptible if you're used to doing any sort of
because you're nervous. Because what happens is if you acclimatize your body to that, it will adapt, and it will have less of that. It will go less into that flight or fight response to kind of just pull all the blood to your extremities. You'll be able to better over time anyway, to an extent, keep keep your extremities more, less of that vasoconstriction going on.
Yeah.
It takes a while to adapt, know. Yeah. So that's a big deal. And then plus the hypothermia piece in general. So that sneaks up on you quick, where you can get, it happened to me when I was an East Coast surfer and the best waves on the East Coast were always in the wintertime. Right. And so we'd go out, the air temperature used to be like, I don't know, 30s and stuff.
In
the
northeast?
About, mid-Atlantic. But in the wintertime, especially in that January, February, you'd have water temperatures like low 40s and high 30s. Even with a wetsuit, you'd be out there for a while. It can sneak up on you and you start slurring your words and you start it's a big deal too, the hypothermia piece. But most of the drownings are likely in this type of thing are likely due to the muscles just kind of seizing because they don't have the blood flow.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's kind of I don't know. Yes, that's something to be careful of.
Something semi-related. I just saw a video on, I think it was Instagram, of Horian Gracie. Mm-hmm. Is that Henner's brother?
No.
Horian?
No.
What's his
No,
brother's
that's,
name?
oh man, I'm having a brain fart. Dang it.
There's multiple.
Oh no, but the one that
right
I know, because I know it. It's so stupid.
Olivia, look up Henner's brother.
Okay.
Oh man, I cannot believe
Horian.
you just stuck that.
Horian's
you just
his
took
dad.
it out. Yeah,
That's
you just took it out of my brain.
Not their dad, but Horian is the one that
dang it!
helped
Now
create the UFC.
I cannot believe
Henner and
he has less hair than
Yes.
Henner. Yeah, I just can't. Dang it.
There's Hiram.
Yeah, no.
You're talking about his siblings?
Yes.
Yeah, his brother, the one he always has videos with.
Yeah. Henner and
Oh my God.
Hiken?
no,
Nope.
Halleck?
no, that's G and a G.
Yeah, that's G and a G.
You're talking about siblings. Those
Yeah.
are the only ones that I have for Henner.
That's
Hiram,
BS.
Halleck, Hiken, Rose.
Horian.
Halen?
Nope.
Helen.
I'm gonna have to look it up because it's gonna drive me
Helen?
crazy.
Huh?
Aaron, Hank.
Hank? A random Hank.
Anyway, let's circle
Okay,
back
sorry.
on that. Yeah, it's gonna drive me crazy now
Horian
too.
is Henner's father.
Yeah. Do like YouTube it or something. Like Gracie University or something like that. And it'll say like Henner and
They do videos together all the
I know.
time. Anyway, sorry.
There's
No.
Oh my God,
so
they're gonna kill us.
I'm sorry, guys. We are
No disrespect
Yeah.
intended.
So he was in a cold plunge bathtub in his backyard, and he was talking about like the different levels of doing these cold plunges, and how a lot of time you'll see people, and he called it like a blue belt level
Okay.
diving, which is their hands are above, their shoulders are above, and they're doing the cold plunge, but they're out of the water.
Right.
And then he's like, then you get purple belt level, which is, I think their hands come in, and then they dip their shoulder, and maybe it was white, but whatever the order is.
Hiram, Henner.
Hiram? No.
For Gracie University?
Yeah. And then,
Hickson, Hoyce, Hoyler.
no, you're way too old. These
Yep.
are old people.
Yep.
So his hands are in the water. Okay. And then the next level is hands are in the water, your arms, and then you dip your shoulders. So it's just your head above.
Yep.
And then, but he said that's brown belt level because what they're doing is their hands are on their body. And he said black belt level cold plunging is your hands are not touching your body. You're completely submerged. Your head, you can dip your head maybe, but let's say your head's out. But then you're also moving.
Yep. That's
your
right.
arms.
That's right.
And he said something, and everything sounded like it made sense because I understand the whole
Yeah.
like
What he said totally makes
heat
sense.
stuff coming out of the hands. But the moving,
Yep.
he was saying it had to do with that's breaking up the protective layer that our body's doing in that moment.
That's right. What happens is we know it is in our cold plunge. So if we get in with the pump off,
Yeah.
like we have the thing set up so you can set a certain temperature, and it's like right now we have it set for 54 degrees. So when we come down in the morning, the thing's running.
Yeah.
Typically I'll turn it off and then get in. The water's not circulating then. once you get in there and you're still and the water's not moving, there's a layer of water right around your skin that actually gets warm. And when you move, it brings that cold water and it kind of moves it away. When our pump is running and circulating, it's so much damn harder to stay in because of the same thing. So he's right in that. That's kind of a nice little hierarchy he's actually described. A lot of it has to do with the anastomosis in the hands and feet. Like when you get your hands in, you're really getting more exchange of heat loss. Getting up to the neck level especially.
I thought that was funny how he said it's like brown belly because they're keeping their hands to
totally, but he's right though. Yeah,
I'll be watching every Instagram video like that now.
But he's right with that. When you're moving around, it's disrupting that little layer that settles of warmer water. Excuse me,
Bill.
It's called a thermocline.
I think you were saying it wrong because I just looked it up.
It's Hiron and Henner.
Huron.
It's
Huron. Yeah. Yeah.
I said it right. You couldn't figure that out? You couldn't have figured it.
That's him, though.
That's me.
That's him.
That's my bad.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Pretentious much? Hiron.
Can you put the camera on your face when you make that?
No, I'm not going to.
Oh, wow. We're really kind of...
It was like this. It was this. You got the camera? Good. Okay.
You did it to yourself.
Well, I feel a lot better. So sorry to those two brothers for us butchering.
Send us a free sweatshirt bag, and we'll apologize later.
No, that's a great way of describing that, though. That's pretty cool, actually, because you can. I like that. I like the way they're doing that because then you can be like, oh no, you can have like a little hierarchy, like I'm at blue belt level. That's cool though.
Getting better and better.
Getting better. Yeah, I like it.
So we have some other questions that are jiu-jitsu related.
All right.
I think Olivia actually has those. You want to start from the top? Chris is going into this cold. I have seen these questions. He is
You're a cheater.
I am. Speaking of cheating, I think the last time we tussled, you were putting a lot of pressure on me.
I did.
It was in situationals.
Yeah, I did.
And I didn't like it. It was a lot of pressure, and I had to use a lot of strength.
Yeah.
And technique.
Well, maybe you should use kettlebells.
So.
Shot across the bow.
Yeah, and, I'm not going to say that I have any antagonism in my heart to you. At least you're fake. Because let's just say that, there's a healthy competition in a best way. Because you'll catch me in some bullshit.
I am a little Craig Jonesy with that kind of stuff.
I like it because it keeps me sharp. So then when I do happen to get a positional control, I like to put a little stink on it.
Gosh, it was noticeable.
Yeah.
Because in both times you happen to catch me right after a really
I noticed that too.
Visitor.
Oh, I knew. Yeah, I knew you were tired already, so I was like, yes.
It had extra stank on it.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry about that.
It's okay. I just had to bring it up in front of everybody. What's the first question there, Livy?
Well, I want to ask a different question than the jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Dude, this is anarchy. What is going on here? Olivia's like, this. We're just falling apart here.
Yeah.
Well, because if I ask those ones, we're not going to have enough time. So
I'm going to start drinking again.
What do you think's in here?
Okay. It's a quick one.
Okay.
Kind of quick. Okay. I was just curious. You know how people always say if you don't eat enough protein, you can go into a catabolic state, or if you're fasting, you can go into a catabolic state.
Yes.
Okay. But how quickly when you're in a catabolic state does your body eat up your muscle? Is it they make it seem like it's oh my goodness.
No. 30 minutes. As a matter of fact, it doesn't. We have protective effects for that.
Okay, so you'd have to be in a calorie restricted,
yes,
low,
like a big deficit.
Yeah, that's the whole reason for growth hormone when you're sleeping at night. So it specifically mobilizes fat as much as possible and tries to spare your protein. Protein's pretty precious, right? Now, after a while, it's not going to spare muscle at the expense of your brain. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
So if for extended fast, it will start cannibalizing muscle to make glucose. Because you can make glucose out of protein from amino acids. Thing called gluconeogenesis. That just means make new glucose. Deliver does that. Totally. I explained it. So no, it doesn't happen like that. That's the whole reason why. Matter of fact, a lot of good anabolic effects can happen during brief fasting. The problem is if you have sustained caloric restriction, especially lower protein, and higher cortisol, and you're overtraining, you can get and stress. You can get catabolic. Catabolism is there. You got to think of what the ultimate goal is. The ultimate goal is to keep you alive.
Yeah.
Okay. Ideally, you'll spare protein first, your muscle first, but it will act as a reservoir for amino acids if needed on, people that are low protein. I mean,
but it's not going to just devour it and then over.
No.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Because you're going to still take in calories the next day or whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Turn it off.
Exactly. It's only for prolonged fasting when people that happens.
What about the people you have your weightlifters that are like, I have to get my protein shake
I need
in
to
30 minutes.
Or I need 100 grams or 120 every day. But what if you do 100 grams one day, 40 the next, 60 the next? Is that going to?
Well, actually, there's a. So if you look, okay, we're diving into a very interesting area. So there's something called mTOR, which is mammalian target of rapamycin, which is basically a switch that takes place. It's sensitive to protein intake, especially your branched chain amino acids like leucine. Mm-hmm. So when that hits this system, it turns mTOR on and promotes anabolic responses. Now, if you were looking for longevity versus performance, those things will diverge a bit. So if you're always trying to be in an anabolic state, there's an argument for longevity that it may not be the best thing to do because there's something called autophagy. When you reduce your protein intake, mTOR is not being active as much, and you go into what's called a self-eating thing, where autophagy, basically you do clean house, all these kind of damaged organelles in the cells, your body will start recycling those. And that can be helpful for longevity. It kind of cleans up damaged stuff, basically, right? So cycling on and off of that, a lot of people will do that just to they'll do some periodic fasting or reduce protein intake for a couple days and do it cyclically, because then they're trying to basically have their cake and eat it too. They're trying to get an anabolic response and then get into phases of what's called autophagy, where you'll kind of cellular cleaning. So because the extreme end of anabolism or anabolic response is cancer, rapid cell, dividing cells, right? Growing in growth cycles. And there's some people that think that being in a strictly maximizing anabolic responses leads you more prone, perhaps to developing those type of things, where other people think that, periods of autophagy actually can help stave that off. So, but it doesn't happen overnight. I think there is some advantage to protein cycling a bit, but again, that anabolic window has been what you were alluding to earlier, I have to have it within 30 minutes of blah, blah, blah. Look, that really isn't supported very well by the literature.
X amount of grams of protein.
Well, it depends on who you are. It depends on your muscle mass. What are you trying to feed? That's where the individuality comes in. I think, but getting some protein within a couple hours of a heavy workout, it's very helpful. I think because you're still in an anabolic response. Otherwise, you can get a little catabolic if you don't kind of feed yourself. Yeah. Okay. But it's not all of a sudden, oh shit, I got to run home and
everything I did was worth nothing.
Yeah, that's nonsense, right? So, as long as you refeed within a reasonable amount of time.
Well, I mean, it's good to know that it's you don't have to consistently, because some days I don't eat enough protein, and I know I didn't, but I don't want to feel like I'm throwing away muscle.
No, you're not, as long as it's not prolonged.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good question, actually.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
good job.
I threw that one in.
Good job.
Why don't we just make a supplement for leucine and just throw that
People do.
Oh, just straight leucine?
Yep, but they usually as a branched chain amino acid. But if you look at any of those kind of anabolic things, they really hit leucine because it seems to hit the mTOR pathway hardest.
Because you need to have a certain amount of grams, right?
Well, especially as you get older, our anabolic response is not near as you have to hit that doorbell harder, basically. So older people need more protein.
Yeah. Which is just so hard and it's very expensive.
I know. Yep.
And it's very filling, so.
That's true.
Yep.
Okay. Let's get to the jiu-jitsu question.
Let's do it.
Okay. Cauliflower ear, gross and deformed or badge of honor?
This what controversial question.
Juicy.
Look, I mean, it's on a continuum, right? If you got a little bit of cauliflower ear and you think it's cool.
What does a continuum mean?
In other words, we're on, like, for instance, you're at one end, I'm at the other. Mm-hmm. Really kind of a knucklehead all the way to like super cool. Mm-hmm. Like, and there's people that are along that continuum, like that are kind of in the middle, kind of closer to super cool, kind of closer to knucklehead. That's a continuum.
Okay. Where are we?
I'm not gonna say.
Where are we?
I am definitely on the wrong end of that, I think.
Okay.
But anyway, so I know a guy at our gym that has hearing problems because of extreme cauliflower ear.
Okay.
The ear is there to receive sound waves. That portion of the external part of the ear helps kind of funnel sound into, right?
Sure.
So when that thing is all kind of closed up, and you see this a lot in wrestlers, some pretty extreme cauliflower ear. I don't think it's a good thing.
Is that person, do they have the very visual looking cauliflower ear?
Yes, they do.
Because some people get it more towards the interior.
That's the one that usually causes the problems.
But
the ones on the edges.
The big pot sticker looking stuff.
Yeah, why do they call it cauliflower ear? Because I think it looks like a pot sticker.
Goiza.
You know what you should do? You should take all those years of our history of grappling, and you should say, I'm tired of that. And say, I want to call it this from now on.
I think so.
And I think you should start a movement.
Start petitioning.
Baby ear.
Let's call it pot sticker ear.
Yeah, it doesn't roll off.
Fine, goiza.
Goiza. Dim sum.
That's not right.
Isn't goiza?
Dude, I have no
Dumpling
idea.
ear.
Dumpling.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little dumpling.
So, okay, so they have the visual kind that you're talking about, the person at our gym. Would they... Before I give my answer, let me ask a question. Do you think that they would rather not have it?
And probably have better hearing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they would have a little bit better hearing.
I'd have to ask this person, but I'm sure they wouldn't mind having a little bit on the periphery, more on the, it's not affecting their ear function as much.
That makes it sound like they're a little bit proud of it.
They might be. I don't know. I'm not asking that. I'm just speculating right now. I haven't asked this person. That's the question.
Off the air.
We will talk.
You can tell me.
Okay.
And I'll ask them.
But a lot of people think that, hey, it makes me look badass and blah, blah, blah. So I personally try to avoid it because that stuff will re-bleed again. It's, it's calcified blood basically.
But so you side on deformity?
No. The opposite. I'd rather you protect your ears.
No. The question, though, is
it gross and deformed or a badge?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm old. Come on.
It's okay.
Regroup.
You're on that side of the continuum.
I don't think it's a deformity. I think that's a binary question that probably has a little more nuance, perhaps.
Okay.
You set it up like a binary.
You're skirting. That's fine.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with badge of honor.
Okay.
I think, and this might be because I have 0.
Big surprise.
But I train, you son of a bitch. Because some people, they will say it's like not just
I like
a badge.
your ears.
Thank you. It's a badge of honor, but also a sign of toughness.
That's what matters. What your spouse likes.
She hates it. When she sees people's ears.
Okay. But you're going to go against that and you're going to like, nah, I want a little bit.
Well, it's not like I'm one of those Russians that takes a bottle to my ear and like forces it. But, when she sees like, there's a couple dudes that have I'm gonna toss him out
like
there.
Matt Hughes.
Well, I was thinking Alan.
No, I don't
at the
know.
gym.
I don't look at people's ears usually.
His doesn't look like a pot sticker. His looks like what would you say? Like a crumpled up dollar bill.
Oh, okay.
A lot of edges to it.
Mm-hmm.
Little alien.
Mm.
So rather than Dan's is fairly smooth.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, I figured fairly
Bill
smooth.
doesn't care about privacy.
No, he just puts them on blast.
Well, these guys got little baby deers hanging off their head. So,
well, the smoothness, I know what you're talking about. That's a lot of cauliflower ear there.
when it's smooth like that,
Yeah, because all that's been filled in. The ear, if you look at a normal ear, should have lots of ridges and stuff. When it's smoothed over, that's a lot of blood that's been calcified. It's actually closing off the auditory canal.
so I feel like
Bill would want me to have cauliflower ear in a weird way. I'm not kidding you.
I just play with it.
That's gross.
So I don't think it's necessarily a sign of toughness, because I also heard Brendan Schaub talk about this, where he said someone asked him if there's someone that trains and they don't have cauliflower ear and they're like either a professional fighter or a black belt or something like that, does that mean they're legit? And his stupid ass was like, I don't think so.
Are you serious?
Yeah. He goes, if they don't have like visual cauliflower, they probably don't train very hard.
Or they just didn't get hit in the ear with a knee.
Well, it's totally style based. Like, for example,
It's usually accidental.
I think I put just as many hours as a lot of people, like professional grapplers. But my style, obviously, I don't wrestle. I prefer the judo. I don't get caught in guillotines very much. I don't put my head where it's not supposed to be, for the most part.
I would disagree.
Easy. I use my forehead rather than the side of my ears or the side of my head for pressure. I just think that
People use the side of their heads for pressure.
Well, yeah, as you're coming around the corner or something like that. I think just stylistically, I'm a guard player. I maintain decent frames so I don't get my head grabbed. That's why I've never even had to drain my ear.
Yeah. I've had to drain mine once.
Yeah.
But perfect example for MMA, let's just say, Israel Adesanya. You can't say he's not legit.
Right.
His ears are pristine.
Are they?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, he doesn't get hit.
What about Anderson Silva?
I don't have looked
I
at
think
his
he
ears.
actually has pretty clean ears as
I
well.
feel like
So, I mean, I don't know who said what or whoever, but I don't think that's a sign of whether you're legit or not.
No, I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I do too.
I think Brendan Schaub I think he's a funny guy at
He's a
moments.
He's a comedian too.
Barely.
Yeah.
But shots fired.
Wow.
His stand-up's horrible. But I think he seems like a fun guy to like hang out with.
Totally.
But he has like gnarly ears.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, I don't know.
justification.
I don't know. It's weird. I think there's just
People
some
do get a
people.
little bit
I
weird
think
about
there's
it,
a lot
don't
of people that actually have that opinion. But I think they also are a lot of people that don't train a lot, because you see cauliflower ear on like 20% of people. Like you don't see it a lot.
What we try to do is, if Carrie and I are there at the gym,
Yeah.
and someone has a developing, big hematoma in their ear, they're like, "Hey, can you drain it?" I'm like, "Yep."
Yeah.
And we have several
Oh,
times.
yeah.
We'll drain it right there on the spot. So,
It's usually white belts that are
of course it
somehow,
is.
like just fresh into it.
Of course. And so, I personally would avoid it.
So with that though, I say badge of honor, because there's only a couple sports that you can get cauliflower ear, that you typically get cauliflower ear, and they're very tough sports. Rugby, judo, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. I'm sure there's something else out there. Maybe even hockey, I don't know. But so I kind of treat it as a badge of honor. I think it's kind of cool.
Okay. I have nothing against it. People make choices however they want. I would rather.
Sound like you're hating.
I'm just saying, if Bill ever has that, you're draining it, Chris. Getting a needle out.
So, no informed consent. Basically, Bill, I don't care. I don't care what you say. I'm going to hold you down. We're going to drain your ear because
Olivia is asleep.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Well, so that settles that debate.
You shall never have honor.
Well, a lot of times you have to drain it multiple times, right?
Sometimes, depending on how well you are able to keep it kind of smashed together. Like we have this magnets. Yeah.
Safety pin, or not safety, but close.
Yeah. The problem is if you allow that, it's a potential space, right? And if you allow that to fill, it's going to fill back up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, unless you kind of smush it until it doesn't.
Right. Next question.
All right, next question.
Bunch of haters in here.
Apparently.
This person says they're training harder than ever, but not improving. I'm not sure what the question is, but
probably what
they're frustrated by that.
Yeah.
Yep. First of all, I'm sure you would ask the same thing. You'd like, well, how often are you training? Mm-hmm. Are you training with intention? Or are you just training?
Yeah. What does training harder than ever mean?
Yeah. Does that just mean intensity?
Yeah.
Well, I would say, and I've had this conversation with some of the lower belts that have the tendency to try to win every match, every sparring session. We've had this conversation before, I think, on the podcast where, sometimes not playing your A game every time you roll, it's not going to really get you anywhere. Sometimes you got to put yourself into situations if you're trying to work on something. I would say come in with some intention, like, I'm not very good at this, and for this 2 weeks when I roll, that's what I'm going to do. And guess what? You're probably not going to win every time, and that doesn't matter, but that's going to help you. That's the most common thing I say. People are trying to train harder and think they can just, will themselves into getting better through intensity, and that's just that hasn't been my experience.
Yeah, I would say that's basically a similar answer that I have, and but a way to maybe show improvement is going to be one, shrink jiu-jitsu down a little bit,
like you've said before. Yeah, I like it. Yeah,
and because if you're just trying to get better as a whole, when you say training harder, you probably mean you're doing every sparring round, you're doing 8 rounds, 10 rounds a night,
right?
Good hard rounds. There's a place for that. Even though you might not feel it, you are getting better most likely, but it might be at a kind of a macro level, unfortunately. And if you've been doing that for a little while and that's what it seems like I'm not really getting that much better, shrink jiu-jitsu down and taper back the intensity. And what I mean by intensity is not your mental intensity, but your exertion intensity. If you got that dog in you, then you have it.
Right.
You can bring that intensity out of the battle. And that every roll, if you're going to roll with your favorite training partner that you guys go to war with, still go to war with that guy. If it's your professor, still try to take his scalp off. That's fine. But go with some lower belts. Go with some newer people. Shrink jiu-jitsu down, work on something specific. You're going to try to go into De La Hiva and knock them to the hip and bear and ball, whatever you're working on. I would just use that as an example. And you're going to do it to that guy 6 times in a 6-minute round. But just keep getting into that position.
Right.
Refine whatever you're working on. If it's pressure, get top position, get your position, and don't let go. Don't allow them to escape. Really just hone it. Don't go for the submission.
Right.
The battery just died on that. It'll have to get plugged in.
No, I agree with you, but that's kind of like what we were talking about at the very beginning of the podcast today. Like, hey, what are you working on? Those are the type of questions we ask each other.
Yeah.
As upper belts, especially.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I just started playing a newer guard. For me, it was new.
Right.
And it wasn't working so well last month, and it's working better now. I was getting past, but by rolling with a blue belt and still getting, but I'm working on something new, and that's the whole purpose of that. You got to let that ego go.
Yeah,
it's like I don't care because I'm working on to better my game. And now a month later, guess what? That guard is better.
Yeah. Also evaluating, like if you can on your drive home, when you get home, when you're taking a shower or whatever, when you got a little bit of time to you're not distracted, try to think back to how rolls went, your sparring, and whatever you're trying to improve on, because obviously there's a desire to improve. Where were your blockers? What did the black belt do that made it so you couldn't succeed in that position or move? What did the white belt do that made it so you couldn't, evaluate, mental inventory, on to the next?
Yeah, but if you don't take that stuff under advisement, you still want to play your A game every time. Like I'm just going to play top position no matter what because I don't want to get smashed. Yeah, you're not going to improve.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Definitely start venturing out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, without knowing a little more about the specifics, I mean, but that's generally what I hear from people. Like, I'm trying, I'm training more. It's like you said, I mean, shrink jiu-jitsu down and train with intention.
And I think we'd said this recently, but you are getting better. If you're showing up, you're getting better.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes those increments are hard to notice, but you're getting better just by showing up.
Yeah, and then, I got to ask yourself, why do I think I'm not getting better? What is failing? Is it just because I feel like I'm just not doing well in rolls? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree to your point.
And sometimes, especially if you're maybe like a blue or white belt, like the upper belts you just might have happened to land when they're not being quite as experimental with you. So it just feels like you're
just getting handled.
Yeah, because you are getting better. So they're like, well, we need to ramp it up. So
I've actually told some of our mutual white belt friends that he's getting very good. And, every time he gets promoted, we turn it up a little bit on him, right? And that's just part of the, and I tell him that. I'm like, I'm like, hey, I'm going to turn it up a little bit on you.
Part of the process.
Yeah, it's a good question, but just take a step back. Think about what you're doing.
Yep. What's next?
I would like to say what I think about that.
Oh, please. And actually, if you want, on that light, if you press mode, it'll go to the white again.
It's kind of the Stranger Things lighting right now, though.
There you go.
Kind of cool. Oh, that's
dramatic. And then put it in front of you. Yeah.
It's blasting me. Okay. So I know you guys have already covered this, but I just think a big thing is just remembering to be patient. Like, growth doesn't just happen overnight. It takes time. You're building on a foundation. I know that I was frustrated and I felt like I wasn't getting any better over and over and over and over and over again. And then finally, I think when I hit blue belt is when I started feeling a little bit more confident. And then honestly, it wasn't until I was almost to purple that I really felt like things were clicking. And it was easier for me to do drills and pick up maybe newer techniques. But you're building a foundation, and you're building on that. And it just takes time. Just like when you're working out for the first time and lifting weights, like, you're going to be like, man, I'm working out so hard. And I'm doing all this stuff. Why am I not seeing improvements? I'm working out harder than I ever have. And you're like, because it takes time. And there's a really steep learning curve with jiu-jitsu. It's not an easy sport to take up.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that's why so many people quit at blue belt.
Yeah.
But let me ask you, Olivia, and this applies to me all the time. I mean, I've had weeks when I go in there, I'm like, my timing's off. Yep. My energy seems to be down. I feel like I'm getting, I'm certainly not the hammer. I'm definitely the nail a lot more. And then it'll just, for no other reason, it will seem to reverse. And then, so you'll go through those things but it's easy to have that get in your head a little bit too, right?
I would say it can last weeks for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I've just went through a cycle like that. Where I felt like I was just getting totally, right? And that's just, some of that's your nervous system too. It might be a time for you to take like 3 or 4 days off.
Yeah.
That might help too.
We talked about that actually. We were saying we wanted to bring it up. So this wasn't related to the questions, but What is that when you take a week off, you come back, or 2 weeks maybe?
Yeah.
You come back and your timing's on. You're you
certainly
feel
hitting
good.
things that you didn't hit before.
What is that?
Your nervous system isn't fatigued. You allowed yourself to really recover. It's called supercompensation. So if you overtrain for a period of time, that's not necessarily bad as long as you don't keep doing it. And if you start feeling that, remember we talked about the whole stress cup thing, like doing grip strength and all those other little indicators that your nervous system might be fatigued. If you listen to that and then periodically build in some breaks, that allows, not only do you recover, but then you can get you come out even further than you were, because that adaptation process has taken place fully then. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Instead of, then you're like, wow, all that work I put in, now I'm seeing the fruits of, because I've allowed complete recovery. There's something about complete recovery, because most of us, let me tell you, for me, I'm barely hanging on week to week sometimes. I'm like, okay, I'm recovered just enough today to train. But if I take a week off, I come back and I feel like $1 million. Stronger,
energy,
faster.
Your timing feels good.
But it's super hard because jiu-jitsu is so addictive, and we have such a good community. It's more than just the art. It's seeing your friends, and it's just really good for you in general. It's hard to take that time. But, I would say just go to class and kind of sit. Take some notes and just give your body a break. Because to your point, you'll come back and you'll like, okay, wow, I feel like $1 million now.
And sometimes, when you take that week or two off, you feel like garbage. Your cardio's gone and stuff like that.
Well, that's
a different thing.
Yeah, that's a different thing. The cardio, so, that's a weird phenomenon too, isn't it?
Yeah. Sweet.
All right, next question.
Jess.
Let's see. It says, I had no idea we weren't supposed to ask black belts to roll. Is there anything else I am missing? Do we bow entering and leaving the dojo?
So
this is like an etiquette question.
There's an etiquette question. It depends on your academy. So I will tell you, at our academy, I don't think any of our black belts have a problem with a white belt asking them to roll. I don't know one black belt that has a problem with that. And I think they encourage it. I've heard, and I haven't experienced this, that there are other places where, that's kind of a no-no, and you have to kind of wait to be asked by one of them. I think we have the right balance at our academy, and this comes right from Andrew, of professionalism, but also a good balance between being laid back too in certain things, right? There's certain things you should bow on and off the mat, show respect, keep the academy clean, and don't, be a nice person, be respectful to other people. But there's not as much of that kind of culty kind of hierarchy type of thing where, you're tiptoeing around and scared to approach a black belt or, So I think that, don't you think that's academy specific?
Absolutely. And you could probably even, if you're visiting a gym, I wouldn't ask unless I know
exactly.
Like we talked about Cindy Hales. I know if I go there, I can ask any of their black belts.
Right.
Not just her. I can ask any of them.
But you have a relationship with them.
Right.
Right.
I know that gym. Same with Seattle Jiu-Jitsu. Dave Stegman. Like, I know any of the black belts there. Classic Jiu-Jitsu up in Linden. And that's a Brazilian guy up there, Mauro. And I say that because what I'm about to say, which is I would side on not, if you're unfamiliar with the academy, I would side on not asking a black belt to roll, especially if it's Brazilians, as in the head instructor is a Brazilian, or they have a few head black belts or something.
Or
I would
more traditional,
a little bit. They can be a little bit more traditional in that part,
or not,
depending
on, like you said, who it is, right?
Yeah. But I would side on that. I know, for example, we have a training partner that went to a gym in Arizona, a Gracie Humaita, with a prominent Brazilian competitor / kind of old school person. And they required white gis. And that, so a place like that, I'm not asking a black belt.
No. Be overly courteous until you get the feel of the place, right?
They asked about other etiquette. I would say a common one that can get your hands slapped is if you show up late in any fashion, you wait to step on the mats for acknowledgement from the professor, from the instructor, to wave you on. Just stand next to the mats, ready, and wait for them to invite you on. This is another thing that is I've run into. We see people do it at our gym that are visitors, and Andrew's just like, "Hey, come on in." But that's another kind of old school thing is being invited onto the mat.
And look, it's not good or bad.
Yeah.
It's just, some people like different kinds of structure and whatever, I just kind of.
Yeah, some people kept some of the traditional stuff from essentially Japanese jiu-jitsu and old traditional martial arts. We do bow on and off the mats.
At beginning and end of class?
Yeah, I would say if someone's bowing to come into the academy and out, that's going to be more. Our academy doesn't have that. That's going to be maybe more of a personal deal, or maybe they came from a school or another martial art that they do that, and that's why they would be doing it, at least at our academy. I haven't really seen that in the jiu-jitsu community too much, in and out of the academy. I have seen that in Taekwondo more so than any other martial art.
Yeah. I mean, and there's ways, just general courtesy to other people. Even right now, if I have someone that I don't know very well is just coming into our academy, even as an upper belt, I'll still, I was like, hey, would you be interested in rolling? You know what? I'm not going to be like, hey, come over here. I want to roll with you. You know what I mean? It's still, it goes both ways, that respect. And I think, like I said, I think our academy does a great job of balancing that.
And I'd say etiquette wise, another thing is if you are going to roll with specifically a black or brown belt and you don't know them, even if it's at your own academy, and it's someone visiting you, or you're going somewhere else, is asking what essentially rules they want to go by. So if a blue belt wants to roll with me, I'm anticipating we're doing brown belt rules, which is essentially black belt rules. And that means there's toe holds available, knee bars in the gi, and then in no gi there would be heel hooks and stuff like that. I'm going to do that just to protect myself because those kind of things in my opinion, those are antiquated rules in the first place, that white belts should be able to do knee bars. That's just my opinion. So I know other gyms have adopted that as well. So there's more and more blue belts and white belts and purple belts doing those kind of moves. So I go into it knowing that, but a lot of people still have kind of the old school mindset. And if you are a blue belt or a white belt or even purple belt and you go for a knee bar on a brown and black belt, they might be offended.
I've had that happen.
Yeah? Yeah, there you go. And
we're doing knee bars, are we?
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So asking when you're about to slap and bump is like, do you want to do brown belt or knee bars or okay?
Actually, for you, would you mind if I've been working on this stuff? I know it's not legal in IBJJF, but would you be okay if I started working that?
Yeah.
Totally fine with me. Where I do have a problem with it, if I was running an academy, I wouldn't want two white belts doing it on each other.
Knee bars?
Because I have no problem you practicing, but I want to make sure those two, at least after I've observed them for a while. The biggest problem people have is they don't have a sense on joint breaking pressure and injury pressure, and when how to really slowly apply some of those submissions, and even more importantly, trying to escape them. they don't have the knowledge how to, when they're in a real bad position, and they'll try to flail out of something, and that's how a knee gets ripped apart. Mm-hmm. That's my only thing. But if you've worked with someone for a while and you're like, hey, look, I'm going to show you guys this stuff. This isn't typically legal in competition until brown and black, and this is why it isn't. Mm-hmm. Because people don't understand the position and how to get out, and how to safely navigate that, and how to apply the submission to your training partner that you're not going to endanger, like grip it and rip it type of thing.
Yeah.
But once you're comfortable with, and that they kind of respect it, mm-hmm. I have no problem teaching them that.
Yeah.
But as far as, I'd just be, yeah. So that's kind of my sense. More of a safety issue. But again, that is not necessarily a belt level.
Yeah.
It's your comfort with students, specific students. And you've, for a couple months, you've seen how they roll and and they're doing it responsibly. I wouldn't have a problem with it either.
Yeah. I would say when I teach the midday class, and we're going over submission details, so the finishing details, not an entry. You were a part of one where I went over armbar details, and I'd like to emphasize, like, if you're doing these submissions correctly, you can do them slowly. You can apply the pressures and think about all the little things you're tightening to make the submission actually finishable.
Right.
And that doesn't have to have full throttle speed to it.
Right.
Speed and explosion is when people get hurt.
That's right.
And you should be able to, especially with your training partners, apply submissions in a controlled fashion, and that'll avoid as much as you can. I mean, injuries do happen.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a couple of the black belts I roll with that, just ahead of time, we're like, hey, if we, even with a gi, hey, we're getting a heel hook position, let's do some catch and release. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. We know that's coming, we know none of us are going to spaz. It's all valuable. It's it's
going into, that's just another etiquette thing. Going into
that's a great etiquette. That's a brown or black belt. That's a great point. I think anytime you communicate with someone, it's the best way to do it, and just say, hey, I was interested in this. Is this? And some people are like, no, I don't want you to do that. Mm-hmm. That's fine. That's their prerogative.
Yeah.
Or some people are like, oh yeah, no problem. But
any other etiquette things you can think of?
No, we've kind of talked about the things already. Just, going into a new place, just like you said, be overly, just look, observe, see what's going around, seeing how things are done there. And you never want to be that person just because you don't agree with it. And you're visiting someplace.
Yeah.
That's their place, and they, it's a privilege for, you come in there and roll with them.
Right.
So, yeah. No, I can't think of anything else.
I got a question. Because I feel like I've heard someone say this, and I almost feel like I've had someone be kind of offended when I've done this. Are Ezekiel chokes mean? Are they like a goon move?
No.
Okay, but I feel like I've done it before. And
are you talking about when you're mounted?
Yeah.
Because there's essentially two Ezekiel chokes. Essentially, I mean, there is more.
Okay, from mount, you mean?
If you're mounted and you're on top of someone and you Ezekiel them.
Yeah.
And then there's you're an S mount essentially.
Yeah.
Their back and Ezekiel.
Yeah.
From the back, from the front.
Right. You're talking about the mounted one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, technique application is always important. I don't think anyone likes something really cranky. If they're trying to just muscle the crap out of an Ezekiel choke, the carotid arteries don't take a lot of pressure to collapse, right? To properly, that's where the position of the hands and how you apply the pressure, where it's very much like, oh crap, I'm gonna pass out, not like, oh man, I feel like you're ripping my head off type of thing, or crushing my trachea. I think that's when people get more mad. It's not a goon thing at all. It's a very legit submission. It's a very useful one. It's pretty, what am I looking for? Versatile. I think you can apply it from that kind of technique from many different positions. So it's the application of it, right? If you're, strength and gripping and squeeze isn't a substitution for good technique. And the proper thing to do, like if you had someone that has if you did something or someone did something to you that's kind of like they're basically just crushing your trachea, you can be like, hey, you got that position really nice. Let me show you a couple things to make that choke a little cleaner, so it's not as so you're not kind of. Mm-hmm. I think that's, but no, is that someone said that to you?
Well, I remember hearing that recently. I feel like Bill was saying something about it, but then I remember though when I was a blue belt and I did that to an upper belt and they seemed really offended.
Well, probably just because you submitted them.
So I don't know. So I think it's easy to lump the mounted Ezekiel in the goon territory.
Do I present bad technique when I've done it to you?
No.
Or to
no.
Okay,
No,
you've done it. Make sure that
you've done it to me too.
Okay.
No.
So I think
I try not to just go like crazy.
You're fine.
You are.
I think it doesn't matter who's doing it.
It's just uncomfortable.
It's easy to lump into the goon territory. Same with an Americana from mount or side control. That's often considered a big guy move, a goon move a little bit. I think because the mounted Ezekiel is extremely uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. It is, the connection on your neck is flawless when it's being applied.
Yeah. Yep.
So not only is there an actual blood choke happening, but it feels like your head's getting cut off because it kind of is really, if you're doing it right.
Well, you always told me you're like, get it and then like press like you're pressing through the floor.
Yeah. Yes, a little stank on it. And
Bill, he wrist locks white belts too, so you shouldn't really take a lot of. You shouldn't take I know. He said day one white belt.
Try to at least once a class, and then so it's extremely uncomfortable. Similar to we just did the baseball bat choke.
Totally.
And then when you roll someone over, so you went for the baseball back choke, they go to alleviate pressure, so they roll to their back. When you come up and you then go into a north-south style cross-collar
and
choke,
clock around, yeah.
That choke is so tight. There's so much pressure that I think that and the Ezekiel choke from mount especially feels so similar, but the Ezekiel choke from mount seems so simple.
I think that's what it is.
That it makes you feel goony.
Yeah.
Because it's just like it's the thing. It's the lowest hanging fruit. Yeah. That like your big brother's gonna do. He's just gonna grab around your head and he's gonna go, well, maybe I can just go like this, and it's legit. Yeah. So I think it's easy for us to kind of lump it in as being a little goony.
Well, like you said, like wrist locks are simple, and then people get kind of offended when you do those.
Well, they're simple. Yeah, they're simple.
They're irritating when you get pissed, you get caught in it. You're like, dang it.
They're simple in the beginning, but then when you try to actually get like colored belts,
that's true. It's a lot harder.
Then it's like you got to be sneaky.
Unless you're Carrie,
right? And so I think. Because
I have to hide my wrist from Carrie.
Oh yeah, because Ezekiel's are it's a move that noobs can do. Yeah. Specifically, big guys. Yeah. Because you can, once you get it halfway, you can muscle it more than some other moves. Some people consider it goony.
So they're frustrated they got caught in it because it's so simple and a white belt can do it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't require, quote, technique, really.
Right. And I think people maybe they think incorrectly about the move. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just easy to do with that one.
I mean, like any other move. I mean, you can sit there and even the cross collar choke from guard. There are so many little details to make that choke legit, really good. Yeah. Or you can do it kind of, haphazard and just kind of just squeeze. So it's just
and it's going to tap a white belt that doesn't understand defense or when he's safe or when he's not. But to an upper belt, they're going to just sit there and take the pain on their chin, and then when the person finally lets go, they're going to just be pissed and be like, "That was so goony and stupid."
I think it's the application of a technique. If you're just trying to, instead of really getting a good solid technique, you're kind of there and just going to use force to get it the rest of the way.
But if someone hasn't really experimented the technical side of the Ezekiel, they might lump in someone that did it technically well with someone that gooned it, because that was the last time they got caught, and it was someone that gooned them.
Yeah.
Can we talk about when people try to grind your chin with a choke, like trying to like
choke your face,
like a rear naked?
Yeah, and they're like grinding across your chin.
That's
it's cagey, but it's sometimes necessary, because if someone they're home alone, they're defending well, and there's not a lot of ways.
White belts do that more often than like upper belts.
Yeah. Yes. Because upper belts understand we're training partners, and getting this rear naked choke isn't the end of the world.
Yeah.
A white belt hasn't seen someone's back in 14 years and sees blood, and they're like, I need to get this. And they're ripping and all that kind of stuff. And they're doing it all fast. I will admit, I'm kind of a douchebag, I guess. I'll admit that.
Finally.
If I feel what would that section of your chin be? But right below your bottom lip, but above the little chin bump.
So
it's right at the core of your teeth.
Right.
Yeah, because you can feel it on your teeth when they're grinding.
Right.
There.
What is that section, you think?
This section? There's a lot of nerves there. Is the problem.
You got a piercing there a while ago, right?
No. Right underneath your lips. On your mandible. That and right above your lips, right under your nose.
Yes.
There's all kinds. There's not a lot of skin there in padding, and there's nerves right underneath.
Yeah, this is where, like, if your mustache is growing a little bit and you catch like a hair, and you're like,
well, have you ever? We used to do this. My brother and I.
Yeah. For sure.
It's
Ray
kind of
a
little kid thing. You just put your finger right above their, right under their nose and say, "Okay, I got you." Try to move.
Little nerve thing. You just pop them.
Yeah. So that area is exactly. It's just really, really sensitive.
So, I'll admit that if I'm working for the rear naked choke specifically, and I feel like I can't get it, but I feel the blade of my forearm gets to that right underneath the lip there, and I can, because you can kind of feel it's like a spot.
Yeah.
Or I feel it right underneath the nose. I will then proceed to try to finish the rear naked choke, and what I'm trying to do, especially on the bottom one, is I'm trying to push their jaw into their throat.
You're a horrible person.
I did this to Gian, and I do apologize, Gian.
That's so mean.
Because I was like, I recognize that Gian's really tough, and I know he's about that business. So I don't do it to everybody. I only do it with like the really tough guys. And I'll still go for it.
So you're an eyebrows to chin type of guy.
Yeah, I am.
You'll choke anywhere in between there.
Yes. Now, at the same time, I'm not. If I have one of those positions, I'm not going to hold it for like a minute or something, like 45 seconds, and just like make it miserable. I'll put that solid Python squeeze, right? That 60%, 70, 75. 80. If I get to like that 80, 85 and they're not like about to tap or something, I just let it go.
Right.
I'm not going to like put them through a minute of.
It just causes so much jaw pain. Like, I hate it. That's why I won't do it.
Bill knows that I have braces, and he.
Really, Bill?
Yeah.
No.
He sure did.
When?
Right across my mouth.
No.
Even with my mouth guard. And he goes, oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry about that.
I could see Bill doing that.
He's BSing. I apologize if I did.
Yeah, you did.
Now, so yeah, I think that's definitely a little goony, especially due to your training partners.
Especially white belts, because they don't know.
They don't even understand what they're doing.
And so they're really like applying all this pressure to your friggin' jaw.
Yeah.
And you're like, that hurts. Like, you're not tapping because they actually got a choke. You're tapping because you feel like your jaw's going to break.
In that scenario, you just tap. Yeah.
Perfect example. And this isn't, like you bring up Gian, he has excellent technique. His guillotines are excellent. that video when we were rolling is exactly what happened. He caught the geese right across my jaw, and I'm not going to sit there. I mean, he has a good squeeze.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm tapping. Yeah. I'm not going to just try to fight that out. Whether it's on my neck or not is still a submission. Let me tell you. Yeah. So, no, I mean, it's legit. Let's be honest.
Like street rules.
Well, people always say that, right?
Well, the thing is, it's two legit moves to get access to the neck. Or is one, use the blade right below your thumb. Mm-hmm. The blade, put it underneath the nose, and then lift. So you can then put your choke arm in. Yeah. Right? That's legit. Also, cupping, like if you make like a C with your hand and cupping right at the brow, lifting up and getting access to the neck. These are two very legitimate. And
I'd rather cup somebody's forehead than
and you can totally.
That's just because I'm nicer than you are.
You're a cupper, not a smasher.
Yeah.
And you can totally do those. And they work well. But some people might even consider both of those. I mean, this
actually, there are some people who do not like their heads being touched, like any sort of way.
Well, they probably shouldn't be in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's probably not theirs.
Probably not your
thing.
As
in, don't like it being like pulled or pulled down.
Well,
but so I don't know if that answered your question. But
yeah. Okay. Do you want me to go on to the next one? Probably.
Sure.
Okay. There's two more.
Wow.
This one's gonna be a fun one. Why am I a 1 or 2 stripe white belt but destroying people?
Oh, wow.
This is a good one.
Okay.
So why are they still a 1 or 2 stripe white belt, but they're doing really well in rolling?
Okay. Let's use a situation. So let's say you are in
Did you write this question?
No.
Like, why am I not a black belt yet?
No, yeah, right. Don't even start that crap.
Can we check who emailed that? Andrew Solheim.
This is white belt.
Yeah.
Oh.
Dude.
Well, that's him masking it, though.
Oh, my God. First of all, I'm not destroying people, so let's just...
Andrew's on to you. Shut up.
Let's just be clear on that. So let's say you're in your 20s, you're strong, super athletic, and you come in there and just on strength and athleticism, you feel like you're getting the better of a smaller blue belt.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean your jiu-jitsu is better than that blue belt? No. And if you keep with that mentality, like looking like, well, I'm destroying people, there's a time where you're going to meet someone with your same attributes that has better skill, and you're going to get destroyed. That will carry you. Strength and athleticism matter. Okay, I'm not saying it doesn't. And it will carry you some ways. But you're not going to develop a skill set. If you have the skill to use that strength and athleticism to accentuate your skill, you're going to be super, super tough. I have a perfect example of this. We have a white belt that came in, had been training that long. Guard's almost impossible to pass. He's naturally gifted, and he does not use his strength. I'm sure he could go around and really kind of put it on some people. Mm-hmm. From a top position. He's a very big, muscular, athletic guy. And he's chosen the opposite. Mm. And because of that, I think he's progressing really well. You look at that guy, he's playing guard all the time instead of playing his top game.
Yeah.
This is the antithesis of this person saying that I'm destroying people. Mm-hmm. That shouldn't be your mindset to begin with. Why am I this? It's like this whole, there's a reason why there's age groups. There's a reason why there's weight classes, right? Mm-hmm. There's a reason why there's belt classes. There are purple belt males that are super jacked and athletic that could mess up most of the best females just for, mm-hmm. what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there's nothing against, there's some, amazing females that have just incredible technique and all that.
Stop dead naming.
Oh my God, dude. You're going to make me have an aneurysm. I'm too old to go do that crap. But no, I think that question shows a total, I completely disagree with that entire mentality. Mm-hmm. And you better, what I would suggest is really think about why you're doing this and not, that makes me think you're there just to dominate. Every round is a ADCC finals, and you're yourself, you're looking at, well, I can beat this person, but why are they a higher rank than me?
Yeah.
Well, it's probably because your technique's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's just my snarky answer to that.
Sure. So I think Jonathan is going to be stoked that you talked about him that way, about being muscular.
It's not Jonathan.
Oh.
I know.
You said a muscular white belt.
Yeah, but I know that question, and that is the opposite of that guy.
No, I'm not saying that's Jonathan. I'm saying the example you're talking about that has an impassable guard that's very muscular and athletic.
I wasn't talking about that.
That's Jonathan. Jonathan Kang.
Jonathan has an excellent guard. I was talking about someone else, though.
But he's very muscular.
That was super imposing.
I know.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
So this person, now I've run across a couple people that are like this, where they come into the sport and immediate success. Mm-hmm. You just laid out one guy, not Jonathan. There's another guy up actually in Linden. His name's Herson. Mm-hmm. He just competed at American Nationals. In I think only no-gi though. Dude's a stud, certifiable stud. He's a blue belt right now. Mm-hmm. He dominates down here at the local stuff. So he went to American Nationals, made it to the finals, lost a ref decision in a spectacular match. And the thing is, like, he could probably jump in to like brown belt division and do well.
Yeah.
And we have a similar guy named Casey. Still a similar guy. He could do the black belt division and especially no-gi and do some damage. But why are they still at that belt level? Why is Herson still a blue belt? Mm-hmm. Why is Casey just a purple belt? Well, I think...
Just? How dare you?
How pretentious.
Okay.
Just a purple belt?
Right? You see that?
I did.
He does not speak for brown belts. Let me just tell you that right now. Okay, Olivia? Oh, my gosh. You freaking son of a bitch.
You are both goons. So... There is a reason, it's getting hot in here, huh? To maintain the honesty of our sport. I think instead of just promoting these people because they can give a black belt a run for their money or they can dominate any other blue belt at their local tournament, their actual knowledge of this sport is still at that level. Now, their application of a, let's say, certain set of moves, which makes them super successful in the gym, super successful at tournaments at their belt level, that Casey has a black belt pass. Like he has a couple passing sequences that are black belt level. His wrestling up is black belt level. This Herson guy, same thing, right? He has a couple set of moves. His takedowns are phenomenal and blah, blah, blah. But there's a depth of knowledge that needs to be acquired before they get to that next level, before there's promotions. And that's up to, obviously, Andrew for Casey, Morrow for Herson. Mm-hmm. And this person that's a white or two-stripe white belt that is probably doing really well against all the other white belts, probably doing well against most of the blue belts and being really competitive with purple belts. And maybe there's a brown belt here or there that, you get a hobbyist brown belt and you're an athlete, you're going to give that guy...
Or you're an old fart, right? It's 52 years old and you're freaking attacking them in the street.
Just attacking you. Oh, gosh. Exactly. And that's where the weight divisions, the age divisions, and all that stuff comes into play. But to maintain the honesty in the sport, you're a savage in rolling in these certain parameters, but you haven't acquired actual jiu-jitsu knowledge. And that's why you are still a white belt, one stripe, or a blue belt, or whatever it is that this person is. And and your professor's probably going to treat you to a different standard than that hobbyist that's 50 years old or the hobbyist that's 35 years old, right? Mm-hmm. So they're going to make it because exactly when Herson didn't win American Nationals because there's other guys out there just like him
that also have
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That was my point.
The beefcake that you just talked about that is literally phenomenal. We put a bounty on passing that white belt's guard.
I know.
Because it's so dang like hard to pass.
And a guy that big you wouldn't think could move like that. Right.
And I'm not talking shit, but he didn't win the last tournament he went to.
Right.
So it's one of these things where there's other people because he competes in the adult division and all that kind of stuff. And that's not, he knows I'm not talking shit. And this isn't him that asked that question.
No, I know it's not.
Yeah.
Because he's not like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why you're there. Your professor knows why. And it probably has to do with a couple of these factors that we're talking about.
Yeah, I guess my reaction to that kind of sticks in my craw a little bit because it just using that verbiage and in asking that question shows, and I expect a certain amount of immaturity to the sport when you're new, but it shows a lack of humility and like using the words destroying people. And it's just like, it's like, that immediately I think of well, there's an entitlement. Well, I'm beating this person, so thus I deserve this belt, right? And so I'm just saying I would kind of take a step back and examine your motivations.
For sure. And, if you're definitely focusing on the wrong thing, which is like a piece of fabric.
That's another point.
Realistically, anything you do before black belt is bullshit and doesn't mean anything anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you're going to be the best white belt in the state? Mm-hmm. No one cares. The best purple belt in the state. That's cool for that weekend, and then no one cares. Mm-hmm. Like this is just me personally, Bill Walker. I cringe when I see people put stuff in their like in Instagram or Facebook or whatever social media bios, and it's like the champion of a colored belt. Like, this does not matter.
Yeah.
I understand why people do it because they put a lot of work and put a lot of effort into it. And I understand being proud of it.
Yeah.
But it's the same to me as the person that screams, like the blue belt or purple belt or whatever, that screams when they open up their gi. They just want a single match. And they're like, this is my house. Stop it.
Yeah, but
none of that shit matters.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I don't fault people for like being proud of like winning worlds at purple belt. That's a great accomplishment.
Sure.
Are we talking about worlds as adult or masters?
Well, I mean,
it doesn't matter. Yeah, either way, it's still an accomplishment. But yeah, I get your point, Bill.
But that's another thing to me also is like, there's like I will see some random person that's like 7-time world champion. IBJJF world champion. I'm like, I never even heard of this person.
It's not a little Runja.
And they'll be like Masters 4, Masters 3, Masters 2.
Easy.
Masters 7.
I'm 5, thank you very much.
7,
Master 5.
And it's like, okay, you're a black belt world champion, but you're not. Like, I don't know.
Not at the height
dare
of the level.
You.
I think you need to preface that if you're saying you're a world champion, that you are a Masters world champion.
For sure. I agree with that.
Because I see it all the time where it'll say IBJ, like, gosh, I just ran across this dude. I don't even know who he is. But it had like 3-time black belt world champion, 2-time European champion. I'm like, this is Buchecha. He's got a fake account.
I get it.
It wasn't Buchecha.
No, you should say what what it is for sure. I get your point.
That's the main point.
But Bill, people get older.
What does that mean?
And they still want to compete.
I get that.
Oh my God. Sounds like he's ageist over here.
I'm not hating on older people competing. I think it's good. And
you just don't think it's impressive.
I think it's impressive because I think if you go to a big tournament and there's more than just one person,
Wait,
I think that's good.
Is there an Olympics for old people? Because it'd be like someone like bragging about doing Olympics at like a really older age and like, I'm the best at 45.
Look, I know your point. I'm just giving you a hard time.
No, you're not really the best in the world. It's just
I get your point. Yeah, for your demographic, your age, weight that you. Yeah,
and maybe I'm misspeaking. I'm not saying it's not impressive to like win blue belt worlds.
I know what you're saying.
Or even blue belt masters won worlds. I'm not saying that's not a big deal, and that's I know you had to train hard and all that stuff. I get it, but that shit don't matter.
I know what you're saying
in the grand scheme.
Yeah, of course.
Who was it that said that? And I did latch onto. I stole it.
It might have been Danaher. I thought.
It might have been Danaher.
Somebody said like basically anything below black belt doesn't mean
like it's just a road to black belt and then competing there.
Yeah. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Everyone's got an asshole.
I know Danaher was talking about how basically like competitions. No, he did talk about just in general competitions before you're even a black belt really don't.
Yeah, don't get
matter.
nervous about them.
Yeah, and that you're actually a lot of those competitions you're just you're learning or practicing how to do a competition. So until you're at a very high level competition, those ones don't even matter.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah,
because those competitions coming up are where you're developing your competitive skills.
Yeah, and how to compete.
Yeah, totally. I think that's great. No, I see what you're saying.
It sounds like I'm talking shit about the competing as a colored belt, but I'm not.
I know you weren't. I was just using an opportunity to kind of make it look like you were.
Yeah,
because we all need,
I'm sure someone will get all sassy.
That's okay. It's okay. I know completely what you mean.
I think we answered that one pretty good.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
Good job, Bill.
Whatever. Oh my gosh.
How many people have you offended right now?
Train wreck.
It is what it is. Andrew, I'm not doing nothing.
Oh my God.
These are my opinion.
Oh man.
William
Walker's opinion.
Andrew has no affiliation with
Well, he
my
can't
opinion.
control you anyway. You're a freaking loose cannon, so why would he try? So, did we have another one? Are we actually going to make it through that? I don't know if I can take any more.
There is one. It just says, "What's in your jiu-jitsu bag?"
Prune juice, Metamucil,
dentures,
and Bengay.
A lot of Bengay. A lot of Bengay with a side of icy hot.
You like it?
Maybe I should have said denture case.
I have.
I thought we were friends, Olivia.
I have. Well, you got Gold Bond too. I have.
So good. Exactly.
I just
Isn't
have.
that just a lotion?
Yeah.
It's powder, right?
It's powder.
Oh, powder.
I know.
Powder
Bill
for the boys.
Bill has penicillin.
He definitely needs that.
Mm-hmm.
We
triple antibiotic.
Yeah, you have all kinds of antibiotics.
Steroid antibiotic.
Mm-hmm. You got steroids in yours.
I put testosterone. I got a vial of testosterone in there.
A little bit of meth when you need a little extra pick me up for.
Why not?
Nutrageous Bang energy drinks.
Just a little extra sugar
Dairy
for the.
Queen.
I think someone had a serious question here, huh? We were just completely.
I just have tape.
Yep.
My mouth guard. I have probably like 4 or 5 packets of Element.
Hashtag Rob Wolf.
Hashtag Rob Wolf sponsors. I usually have my gun. Yeah. That's really it. I have a acai bowl pin.
Of course you do. That's so pretentious.
Just to let people know, Sugar Life is here.
This is the word of the podcast is pretentious.
Yes, it is.
I have an acai bowl. I ride Peloton.
That's just what it is.
Brittany got mad at me
Because you were talking trash about Peloton.
I was actually talking trash to one of my coworkers because I do it to him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Brittany goes, "Hey, I heard that about." I'm like,
Friendly fire.
Easy. Yeah, it's funny.
Whoops. Yeah, so I don't have much in my jiu-jitsu bag. That's nothing fun, really.
I do have some, in addition to what you just listed, I will have some little wipes, like defense wipes or something like that for after class, especially if I'm not going right home to shower.
Yeah, I keep those in the car, but that's... Yeah,
I put that in my bag. Well, I don't sit there in the car like a savage in the parking lot cleaning myself. I actually use the locker, our little cubby.
Yeah, but you're an old guy that's not afraid to have his boys out.
No, I mean, those private little changing rooms.
Disgusting.
You're the one in a parking lot in a car that everyone can see.
Hey.
All right, that's all I'm saying.
This show is not free.
Yeah, he's going to have a panel van next. Like, this is just my loaner.
Just because I got this haircut doesn't mean I'm going to buy one of those vans.
Sure, you can put a little ice cream thing on top.
Yeah.
And
I've thought about that.
I bet you have.
That's like my ultimate retirement plan.
Be the ice cream man?
Yep.
You know what, though? Bill could pull that off because he has just an incredible level of knowledge.
Yeah.
In that group of
this
treats.
is the difficult thing, though. I am a little loose-lipped. And I could imagine some snot-nosed little kid asking about, like, hey, do you have the bubble gum ice cream? And I go, that is dog shit.
Okay.
Have some of this deliciousness. And then he talks trash about it, and then I have to slap him.
Well, you could be like the soup Nazi. You could be the ice cream Nazi.
100%
like from Seinfeld. You could be like, nope, no service.
You're
Bye.
done.
Yep. That could be a thing.
Can I tell you something, Bill?
Yeah.
I couldn't handle you being an ice cream man because okay, well, I'm just saying as a child,
the candy man.
No.
Oh no.
As a child, did you know that I would run away when I heard the ice cream?
Why?
I would hide in the garage.
Why?
You probably had a
freaked
good
me out.
You probably had a good sense for predators.
I did. I would run. All the kids were running to the ice cream truck. I was running away.
Did he have one of those little postal office Jeeps?
There
was many vans.
And those kids that ran to it are now in counseling.
That's true.
That's true. I was never the type. I ran away.
All right.
I don't know why I thought of clowns. I don't know. Maybe it.
I was going to say.
Terrified me.
Yes. Yeah. Carrie won't watch that.
Well, I wouldn't do that. I would have a very clean operation.
Would you?
Yeah.
I know most of those vans are pretty grody. I mean, they look.
they're brutal.
Like they're 30 years old.
You know what it looks like? It looks like the dude from Men in Black.
Yes.
The alien.
The bug.
Yes.
That's what they typically look like.
Oh, that's a good reference. Got the full picture.
Why do they gotta look like that? You know?
I mean, it's low-hanging fruit. You know, they just went to 7-Eleven and bought a bunch of ice cream, and they're like, I'm going to sell this for 25 cents on the dollar. You know
I think they charge more than that.
I'd do
now.
some
They probably
gourmet
charge
stuff.
like $1.50 or $2.50.
I would actually be a patron of Bill's ice cream truck because I know it's going to be good.
There's going to be care.
There's no doubt that it's going to be first class.
Cold Stone ain't got on me. With that.
That's the one time you bleep yourself? Censor yourself?
Yes.
You just said you would tell a child that what they wanted was dog shit, and now you're going to bleep that.
He's just trying to educate the youth.
Yeah, come on. Give me some credit here.
So, yeah, with that, it's probably, we probably should.
Yeah. So next episode, we're going to have a foot master on. And
A what? Foot master?
Foot master.
So,
Foot fucking master.
Oh my, yeah. Don't tickle or nothing. Got my technique down and everything. Wow. No, he's actually a foot and ankle surgeon. Dr. Jonathan Kang, guy I work with that I kind of recruited into the jiu-jitsu cult. He's going about a year ago. He just had his 1-year anniversary at our academy, and we're going to get his perspective not only as a surgeon, and especially with foot and ankle stuff that will apply to jiu-jitsu, but also his experience his first year as a white belt.
Yeah.
So
I think not a lot of white belts, especially you're a year in, you got some experience now. They don't get much time to give their opinion.
No, they don't.
So I think it'll be kind of cool to pick his brain a little bit on his experiences and stuff like that. And also, I mean, foot and ankle health in jiu-jitsu is huge.
We're going to ask him what he thinks about heel hooks. So I'm sure.
That'll be good. Isn't that more of a knee thing?
I know. I'm sure it freaks him out, though.
I like it. Questions, grapplingwithpodcast@gmail.com. Instagram, Facebook, just message us.
Hate mail, send it to Bill, please.
Yes. If you have any codes for AARP, Chris has got them for you.
Yep.
Blow us up.